If you've been playing Minecraft for a while, then you probably remember when villages were a lot simpler than they are now, when there were like only a couple types of houses, there weren't job sites, and there wasn't all of the new fancy villager like skins and professions and all that. And then one day Mojang decided to update and improve the village. And they did a pretty good job making the village like better, more modern, while also keeping the Minecraft feel. However, we're going to be dealing with a structure today that's older than the village. This is actually the first structure that was added to the game, which is the dungeon, which you see behind me. And today I want to update and improve the dungeon. However, we're not going to do like what other videos have done where they make the dungeon like ridiculously huge, like completely out of the realm of what Mojang would actually add or improve. Also, if you enjoyed this video, consider hitting that subscribe button down below. We're trying to get to 20,000 subscribers and I need your help. That'd be very much appreciated. I think I kind of have a layout planned out in my head for it, because if you think about what dungeon, like the word dungeon actually means, it means like a place where you would keep prisoners, and the dungeon, like as in its current state, is just like a box or a rectangle that has a monster spawner. Like it's not actually related to what the actual word means, so we're going to fix that a little bit. So I'm thinking for a layout for this thing, it's going to be a bit bigger than this. It's going to have a few different rooms, but it's not going to be massive. This is kind of like my starter layout for a dungeon. Basically, there's going to be an entrance, and then there's like a hallway that sort of turns left, goes to like a room with enemies and stuff, in a storage room here. Might be some like, that would kind of be where the loot is, maybe. There's might be some decent loot. What you're seeing on screen right now is the loot tables for the dungeon. I may add just a little bit to that. I'm not going to make it like ridiculous loot, but maybe a little bit closer to what the Woodland Mansion has, where you can get some tools. I think like maybe iron or like destroyed, weakened diamond tools, something like that might be cool. Mojang doesn't usually go incredibly over the top with their block pellets, so we're not going to go super crazy here. Like, I was initially inclined to use dead coral because some of those textures look like stone and would fit in. However, that's pretty far from what Mojang usually does, so I think we're going to be sticking more with the block pellet along these lines. So I want the entrance to kind of be like a ruined area where one of the walls is destroyed. I think it would be cool to not have an actual entrance that's like built to be an entrance, but more it's kind of ruined and the walls are like partially falling down and stuff like that, so that you could get in that way, because it generates underground. But also, by the way, when we're done designing our dungeon, I'm going to go and actually put it in just a normal survival world. We're going to make this about 7 blocks wide for the hallway. I think we're not trying to make this massive, so let's start with a floor of cobblestone. I'm thinking the walls should be partially stone bricks, because it kind of fit the dungeon theme a lot. That would definitely improve the dungeon theme. We're gonna have a lot of like mossy and cracked stone bricks, although we're not trying to make this a stronghold. So I'm thinking borders, like sort of borders, outlines with these blocks here, and then like on the inside we just have more of our cobblestone and maybe some andesite mixed in a little bit like that. I think that's not out of the realm of possibility. What we could do with the stairs is we could put them kind of here and have just partial arches going up the ceiling. The ceiling could be partially arched. That would, I think, fit the dungeon theme pretty nicely. We could make that be just like that. And I kind of want the dungeon to be, I don't think I actually want it to be this wide. This is a little bit too wide. I was thinking the ceiling can go up to there, and then down here we can just make it arch back down. I think that would look cool, and then the wall would be here. So we don't actually, I don't think we want it to be that wide. I think 5 wide is a little bit better for what we want. I may go back and revise parts of this, but I think it's getting like too far from what Mojang would do. Let's make this chiseled. Honestly, you know, I'm not really feeling the andesite here. I don't think we should have the andesite. I think that's like a little bit too different. They usually don't build with like stuff that generates that way, like kind of the other various types of stone. I don't think that really fits, to be honest. So we are going to put in some mossy cobblestone here for sure. I'm going to put in a little bit, and I think this is a pretty good hallway design. It feels like a dungeon, but it's not overly complicated. This might be stretching it a little bit, but one thing that I think would actually look cool is if like there was always a little bit of water above the ceiling where there's mossy stone bricks, because it looks like it'd be wet and everything, and we can have the water particles dripping down. Let's just see how this looks, because I definitely think it would look cool, but it might be a bit of a stretch for what Mojang is likely to do. That does actually look really cool though. Are there slabs for mossy stone? Okay. Yeah, so like this actually might be okay. If I did that, I can waterlog the slabs, and that won't go through the bottom, but it'll still drip. Okay, that actually, I think I'm gonna keep that. That's not like too crazy. That's not something they might not do. The way that I do ruining is I find it much easier to build something that's not ruined and then ruin it like after the fact, if that makes sense. So, alright, now that we have our entryway done, if we take a look over at our diagram, we've got like the entrance done. We need to continue the hallway down so that it's long enough that we can have a guard room and a prison area. And it's not going to be like exactly proportional to these blocks here. This was just for a diagram. It's going to be a little bit different. So let's continue this down. So I think by about this point, we should have the entrance to the guard room on this side. And we're just going to continue this wall style down, and we're going to have every 3 blocks, we're going to have like a pillar or just a border of stone bricks like this. I will ruin this afterward. But I believe that after this tower here, we're going to want to have the guard room. So I think we're going to hop into a time lapse now. I kind of changed my plans slightly because I realized this was going to get a little bit bigger than I wanted it to be, so I ended up sort of having this be smaller. It kind of got shoved back by 1 block. It's more like this at this point. I'm not going to replace the signs, but that's kind of what it is going to be at this point. It's going to be closer to that. So right here, there's going to be a small storage room. It's not going to be very big. It's just going to have a couple chests in it, like maybe where some loot is. It's going to be like probably the smallest single room. Looks like we're going to have mobs spawning in here, and I don't know if I'm going overboard with like the mushroom or anything. Like it could just have naturally spawned. I guess like it sometimes happens. I also think that the vines growing by themselves isn't cool, because if you find like a dungeon that has like completely like walls covered in vines, then you'll know that it may have been there for a really long time. Like you haven't found it for a long time, because you would only have it generate with like 1 vine in each area that you want vines. So I think that's almost like kind of a cool effect that it would create over time. Also, the soul lantern I actually think is cool, because Mojang, they kind of like adding stuff like that would kind of hint to new players that there's more you can explore, like with the ruined portals and stuff like that. Here we have the guard room, and I figured like it'd be cool to have like maybe they'd have like food in here, but some of it like turned like nasty and is no longer edible, so it's just rotten flesh. And we have some bread. That's both of those are, I'm pretty sure, like still in the loot table. I have to check if bread is or not, but I don't know if like the multi like block floor is too much, like 2 different types of wood, because like the darker being like rotten wood or something. I don't really know. That might be too much. I may just revert it to 1. Yeah, I'm kind of feeling just making it 1. Yeah, that feels a little bit better. I that seemed like slightly above and beyond what they would do. I also included partial chainmail armor, because I think actually it makes a lot of sense, and you don't really get chainmail from anywhere that I remember. I could be forgetting a place that it like naturally generates, but I think it's cool to have chainmail here. And going through here is the cell block, I guess, which is what we're going to be building now. So I think right here we're gonna have like 2 blocks before, like for storage, and then we'll have a couple cells here. We'll just have 2 cells. It doesn't need to be like a stronghold prison where there's like a ton of cells. So I think this will be fine. Let's kind of ruin this area. Ceiling's gonna be pretty low because it's like a cell. It's not meant to be high like the hallways. This seems pretty good. It's very dark in here. I'm just gonna like put a torch here just for the sake of the video. We'll remove that afterward. It's like meant to be dark. So let's get some hay bales. and put a few hay bales here. That seems good. We'll have a cobweb like in the corner. And now I don't know if Mojang would be likely to do this or not, but I do really want to have a skeleton skull in here. I think they should make it so that you can actually obtain those like from more ways than just having to like blow stuff up with charged creepers. Like, it's really hard to do that. A lot of people don't go out of their way to do that. I mean, it makes sense because it's hard to get, but I think it would be cool to have like one skeleton skull. I don't know, what you guys have to let me know down in the comments if you think that's like a little bit excessive for what they're likely to do, because we're trying to keep this as realistic as possible. Like, having a skeleton skull there I think would be awesome, but maybe they wouldn't do that. I just noticed, if we look up here, I did waterlog the slabs like up there, and apparently the particles come down through an extra block, where they go down through that chain. That actually looks really cool, that it comes off the chain. So far, we haven't really done anything crazy here. This is more just like a stronghold dungeon combined. And so, honestly, if you look at some of the places in the village, they're actually kind of complicated. Like, it's not just really plain buildings, so I don't think we're excessive at the moment. This is kind of like jungle, temple, stronghold, dungeon combined. We have 2 more rooms that we need to do, though. The boss room, I just call it that for lack of a better name. It's not like really a boss room. There's not going to be like a boss there. There's just going to be like a mob spawner. That's where the mob spawner will go. It's going to be right here. It's not going to be huge. It doesn't really need to be huge. It's going to be like 7 by 7 or something. And I'm going to make a small storage room where the loot goes. And then I think we're about good, and we can put this in a survival world. So I think I'm going to time-lapse the rest of this. Well, I just finished everything that I think I'm going to do in this dungeon. I also made the final boss room a little bit taller, just so it's a little bit more grand. It's the final boss of a zombie spawner or skeleton or spider. Yeah, very threatening. Anyways, this place kind of exploded with mobs because there's literally nowhere else in this world mobs can spawn. So, it's a little bit excessive at the moment. Yeah, you can see in here there are a few mobs. I think there's mobs in the actual like cell areas as well. I'm just holding a torch so you guys can see in the video. Yeah, there's zombies in there. It does look really cool, I think. Even like with just a really low lighting and that soul lantern up there, and we have ourselves a zombie spawner here. But I kept this relatively small. If you look at it, it's not actually that big from the outside. It kind of looks big on the inside, but it's not huge. I will add some loot in here. Actually, we should go ahead and do that now. And I think what better time to update some of the underground structures than the caves and cliffs update. Honestly, I don't expect them to update stuff like this in this update. I mean, it would be cool if they did, but I'm not expecting it. Like, they didn't update the Nether Fortress in the Nether update. They added the Bastion instead. Alright, so picture this. You're just in a normal Minecraft survival world. You got some stuff. You're trying to go down into a cave, trying to find some ore, some things like that, some iron here, maybe a few structures or like a dungeon. We go down here into this cave, and we find this. We find an improved dungeon that is infested with creepers that we must eliminate now before we die. Or we can just sit here and tank the explosion like that. So we go down here, and we find this. So this here is the dungeon that we made in the other world, and this is actually it just fitting into the normal survival world, although I'll show you in a little bit what it looks like in spectator mode. We find this zombie spawner over here. We want to disable it before it spawns more things, and that's a creeper. I don't really want to blow up the dungeon that I just made. Alright, we got some loot over here. We've got our loot stuff. We have a god apple, so that's pretty neat, and some other stuff. Diamond shovel, pretty cool. Other halfway decent things, and find this guard room over here, and I guess the structure block didn't carry over that. It did not carry over that armor stand. Wow, look, it magically just appeared there. The structure block actually did work, and we can take this chainmail chest plate and that. So now we have a little bit better armor, and we can go into here, and we find the jail area and that skeleton skull, the I guess debatable skeleton skull, and then we find out that we're locked in here. We have to break the door because there's no button or any means of activation. So this is our dungeon. This is the survival experience with the dungeon, and I had it fit into a cave over here, and I'll show you now in spectator what this looks like. Normally these structures, if it uses structure blocks, it would be filled with structure voids, which basically mean that any air doesn't get over, like, because it actually saves air blocks, but if you fill it with structure void, it just keeps the stuff that was already there. So we have this big area here, and that would obviously be different if it were actually like part of the natural terrain generation. I just didn't fill in everything with structure voids because that would take a long time and it's hard to place them. Anyways, that is our dungeon, and it is in survival mode here. I think it fits into the world pretty well. It actually kind of broke through into another cave even on this side, but I did cover up where it broke through here. Honestly, it looks pretty cool. The entryway lined up nicely. This kind of feels like something Mojang would add. Like, I could see them adding something similar to this, and I think it'd be really cool because it's, I mean, you saw the dungeon before in the other world. It was pretty mediocre compared to this. I mean, that was literally the first structure added to Minecraft, so it doesn't like come as a big surprise, but still, I think that's where we're gonna end the video. If you like, let me know if you want a world download. I can add one for the other world if you want to go see it for yourselves. If not, then I won't include one, but if I see a bunch of comments, then I shall. Anyways, yeah, if you enjoyed, then consider dropping a like, hitting that subscribe button. We're trying to get to 20,000 subscribers, so it's weird to say, but that'd be very much appreciated. And it's gonna be all for this video. Thanks for watching, guys. I've been Sbeev, and I'll see you in the next video or live stream. Bye.